Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to double game week 25. It's team news time. My name is Joe and as ever I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's editor Neil. Neil, welcome. How are you?
Not too bad, Joe. Yeah, we've had it's been a mixed bag today of press conferences because some have yet to happen, some have just happened within the last couple of minutes, and some we've definitely got documented. But I think all the major ones we've got key lines from anyway.
Yeah, there's a couple that are taking place on Saturday, so obviously we
Yeah.
can't cover those, but we'll do the best we can. We've got most of them there. Just everyone in the live chat, welcome. And if you can just let us know you can see and hear us okay, because as ever, I don't have a playback function. Welcome to Rodrev, FPL Copycat, Sukan, Abd, Jason, Woodstock, Richards, FPL Alexander Arnold and many more. Thanks so much for joining us nice and early. It sounds like we are all good with the sound and vision. Okay, just before we get on, just a reminder, do press that like button, really helps us out, and do remember to subscribe so you can keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts, and check out fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for all the latest members offers going on there. Okay, let's get started. 12:30 kickoff on Saturday is Brentford against Liverpool. Well, let's start with Liverpool first because there's big news there, isn't there? A certain Mo Salah. What's the latest?
Yeah, well, he's going to be back. We've seen him in training this week, in parts of training anyway. We did wonder what the extent of his involvement was on the training ground, but Klopp said this morning that he's been in full training and that brings him automatically in contention.
Ooh.
So straight involved in the squad, you think? My guess, if I had to guess, would be a bench in tomorrow and then a start against Luton.
Yeah.
And that'll be my sort of guess for the team news tab. But and beyond that, of course, there's other noteworthy updates as well. Trent being the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's not going to feature in Game Week 25 at all. Neither fixture.
Right.
He's probably not going to be back for the League Cup final either, which is when Game Week 26 is on. Klopp said today that it'll be maybe a week or two longer than that for Trent. So maybe Game Week 27 or 28 for him.
Okay,
so
owners would be advised to move on, especially at that price. Especially if they want to perhaps get Mo Salah in. But yeah, as you said, he might not get two starts. In fact, it'd be very unlikely he would get two starts, especially with
I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would as well. So who's likely to place Alexander Arnold? Bradley, you would assume, but for both games?
I don't know. Yeah, I'd be wary about picking anyone other than Van Dijk, I think, for both games. I think you get one start out of him at least.
Okay.
So he is back now, Bradley. He's been on compassionate leave following the death of his father. He's available now, as is Joe Gomez, who was the other possibility at right back.
Yeah.
He's fine now. He was missing last weekend with illness.
Good stuff.
Alisson's back too as well. Canati is back from suspension. So they've got a lot of options now, especially at the rear.
Yeah.
They're still missing a few players apart from Alexander Arnold. That's Szoboszlai, who's probably going to be back around about the League Cup final. Thiago, Matip and Bajcetic as well.
Yeah.
And Ben Doe.
Okay. And as for Brentford as well, probably not as exciting as the Liverpool news.
No. Again, this is one of the ones that's just filtered through. We think there's nothing new. I think Thomas Frank's pretty much confirmed that, and we don't think anyone's due back either. So, from injury, I should say. So, De Silva and Bemo, Hickey, Sharda, and Henry. They will get two players back from international duty, though, and that's Frank Onyeka and Ewan Wisser as well.
Okay, rightio. Okay, let's move on. Obviously, Brentford also have a double game week. This is just so people know there. Burnley against Arsenal, the best at set pieces against the worst at defending them. I don't know what, the set piece derby? Let's go with Burnley first, because there's big news for those that want a Burnley defender to field in Game Week 26, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yeah, Charlie Taylor, who we thought was close to a comeback last week, and company's pretty much admitted that he was nearly back for that Liverpool game. But he's been back in training this week. We've actually seen him on the training ground. And then company said yesterday that he should be available for this weekend. So, if you need him for Game Week 26 and 29 as well, then hopefully you'll be fit enough by that point. Match fit, I should say. They are going to be without Lyle Foster, though. He's had surgery on a chronic issue. He's going to be out. Koliosho and Redmond are long term. Jordan Bear's the only other one. He's been out for, I think, more than a month, and they're just sort of assessing him week to week, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be back for tomorrow.
Okay, right. Yeah. Meanwhile, with Arsenal as well, there's been quite a few sort of almost about to come back injuries over the last week or so. But yeah, is the injury list going to ease at Arsenal?
It might do, but you'd be hard pressed to
Ah,
get anything from Arteta this morning. You called it the set pieces derby. It's the unhelpful team news derby. I think
right.
the two of the
Yeah.
worst culprits. As usual, Coy on the team news. Arteta, he did say that some of them have been progressing better than others, and we've got a training session today. Some of them have done a few beats this week. I don't know what that means, but I'm assuming that means part of training, rather than laying down some tracks. And he's hopeful that a few of them are going to be back for tomorrow. So at the yellow flags, there's Jesus, there's Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Smith Rowe, and Fabio Vieira, who is more match fitness, and he is very close to Gordon Arteta. There was a bit of an update on Thomas Partey as well. He's progressing well, apparently, and then I think Arteta was asked if he would be back within a couple of weeks, and he said hopefully.
Okay, righty-o. Let's go for Fulham against Aston Villa next. Let's go with the home side first for Villa, because it looks a little shorter than the Villa one. So, yeah, how are Fulham set up for this?
Yeah, Marco Silva said that everyone bar Jimenez is fit. So we think that means Kenny Tete is back. We think that means Tossen's back, unless he's forgetting about them in his team news roundup. They will also be boosted by the return of again, two more players from international duty. So that's Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey. So just Raul out.
Okay, rightio. And as for Aston Villa, problems at the back for them?
Yeah, two big ones this week. One in defence and one in just in front of the back four in midfield. So that's Boubacar Kamara is the midfielder I'm referring to. He's going to be out until at least September with a knee injury. That's at least 7 months on the sidelines, possibly longer. That's his season over with, obviously. Diego Carlos, yet another centre-half added to the injury list as well.
Okay.
Not as serious, but he's going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks with a hamstring problem. And of course, we've still got Konsa out as well. I think for a similar sort of time frame. I think maybe might be a little bit sooner than that.
Okay.
Mings and Buendia. We saw Mings on an exercise bike this week, and there was some speculation that he might be back sooner. He's not. He's going to be out for the rest of the season still. So, and John Duran's still out as well.
Okay, righty-o. Problems there. So, we're going to want Aston Villa players at some point. Certainly, they're playing 26, and they definitely play in 29 as well. So all eyes on any of those returning players as well. So, and also Kamara out. I would presume that would mean Louise would be a little bit further back.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to do quite the same job as Kamara in terms of because Kamara sort of drops into the back four sometimes. I'm not sure if he'll quite be doing that. They've also got the man whose name I cannot pronounce as Tim Origbunim. I really have butchered that name, but Emery has said that they let Dendonka go in the January transfer window because they knew he was sort of coming through, and now up to him to stake a claim. But yeah, maybe for the time being, it might be McGinn and Louise in the centre. Okay,
righty-o. Question there from Marco. Will Pau Torres start? Well, we don't know whether he'll start or not, but as far as we know, he's fit.
He's been in the squad. Yeah, he's been unused for the last 2. He hasn't started a game since December, but he's been in the squad. So there's obviously still some lingering doubts about just how truly fit he is.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on to Newcastle against Bournemouth. Your sides, obviously in superb form defensively of late. How are they set up as they take on Solanke and co?
It's pretty well. I was going to say it's as you were. It's actually got worse on the injury front.
Okay.
Because we've lost Callum Wilson now for possibly the rest of the season. Certainly.
But have we lost him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How much do you trust how? I think in this case, I think we do take his word for it that it's going to be May, I think, before we see Wilson again.
That's a huge lie if Wilson appears.
Even by house standards, I don't think he's ever done that before. But yeah, he's having surgery today on a pectoral muscle that he damaged last week, so we think he's going to be out.
Okay.
Now here's where the grey area lies, and to be fair to Howe, he even acknowledged his little bit of chicanery last weekend with Gordon. So Isak and Willock are said to be close,
right?
And then he said probably not for the weekend for Isak, so we can expect him in the.
That's a definite then.
Yeah,
that's such a definite.
He then mimicked what he said last week. He said Jacob Murphy hasn't trained all week.
Yeah, I'm sure he hasn't.
Exactly what he said about Anthony Gordon a week ago, and he started. Right. So, and to be fair to him, he he said he sort of with a wry smile, he acknowledged what he said last week. He said, "You need to listen to my words here. He is not trained yet."
Right.
It could mean anything. So
Around the country, when people tell a fib, when I was a child at school, there was a phrase called "itchy beard," as in, "Oh, really? Is that really true? Itchy beard?" And it's different in different regions. But I wondered if you have a similar in the northeast.
um, I don't think we do.
No, I know. I once spoke to some people in Hampshire about that, and they have this weird one called chin pull yarn, which is very Hampshire. But anyway,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
we're an
wondered if they
honest
were.
bunch up north. We don't lie
Yeah,
ever.
they don't
Yeah.
have itchy beards up north. Bournemouth. How are
Yeah.
that?
On top of that,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry. Yeah, more.
there's more. Yeah, existing ones who are still out. Anderson, Joe Linton, Tonali, Pope, and Target. Anderson and Target could be back within 10 days.
Okay. Meanwhile, for Bournemouth, how are they set up?
Yeah, they've not got anyone back, and they've lost someone to illness. So they're still without Aarons, Hill, Adams, and Fredericks through injury. Billins still serving a 3-match ban. And Romain Favre, who's just been recalled from loan, he's ill and won't be involved this weekend.
Okay, rightio. Let's move on to Nottingham Forest against West Ham. Well, David must win for David Moyes. Might not see him for long. Should he lose spectacularly to Forest? Let's go with the home side first. How are Forest set up for this clash?
Yeah, one of three press conferences from yesterday. Nuno said that they were expecting 3 players back from international duty. So that's Sangaria, Bolly, and Ola Aina as well. But they're not going to be considered for selection this weekend. They are back, I think, yesterday, back in the country, but obviously not in a condition enough to play. According to Nuno, they're still without Montiel, they're still without Wood, and I think he said there was no other fresh concerns from last weekend.
Okay, rightio. And as for David Moyes, yeah, well, I mean, they're in a pickle at the moment, form wise. It's gonna need some players back, I presume.
He's got one back, Mikel Antonio of Sky Sports fame. He's now he's been in training for the last week, and he's going to be in the squad. Lucas Paquetá on the grass, so he's not too far away, but not ready for this one. He's been out for about, I think, 6 weeks with a calf injury, so nearing a return anyway. Everyone else is fine. Edson Alvarez was ill last weekend when he came off against Arsenal, but is now fit.
We're having some the live chat have been answering my call for the regional variations of itchy beard, as in Eddie Howe's press conference. Greg Williams says that they called it a Jimmy Hill, so they would say Jimmy Hill if someone was telling a porky. And Damnation Trials said Chinny Reckon or Chinny Hill.
Yeah.
Chinny Hill is quite, I like that one. So it blends the best of Jimmy Hill and Chinny Reckon. There, keep them coming. Let's have a look. Tottenham against Wolves. Big news at Tottenham at the back as well.
Yeah, what a blow this is for me as well, because I was last week I was thinking of rolling my transfer. Now I think I might have to take a hit to get people out of the back. As a Trent and Porro owner, and I've given the game away there. Pedro Porro is out.
Nice.
Game week 25. So is Destiny Udogie as well. So both fullbacks they've lost. It sounds fairly minor in nature. Postecoglou says that Udogie should be back after this game.
Okay.
He said a couple of weeks for Porro, but they're without a game week 26 fixture anyway, so he might be back for game week 27.
Okay.
Fraser Foster, the backup keeper, he's joined the injury list as well for a couple of months with a fracture in his foot. And I don't think they're getting anyone else back. Lo Celso was training last week, so he might be ready. And Sessegnon was back in the grass, but I think it'll be too early for him.
Right, yeah. Okay. As for Wolves as well, some big news there on the injury front, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, 1 in, 1 out from the free scoring attacker. So Cunha's out for a long time, I think. It's a very significant injury, O'Neal said earlier the week. Okay. No timeline yet, but some muscle damage has been detected in the scan, so he's going to be out for a while. But they do get Hwang back. He's been away with South Korea, and then he had a minor calf injury last week. He didn't feature against Brentford, but he's now fine, and he's in the squad for the weekend.
Okay, righty-o. Let's move on to, if you just bear with me a second, I'll get the right screen up. Yes, we might have a problem with this one. I think it's the Sheffield United. No, well, let's go for Man City against Chelsea first. Because we definitely had press conferences for those two. Man City, what has Pep Guardiola been saying? There is big injury news here, isn't there?
There is, yeah. I think they were flagless this time last week, but now they've got 5 flag players. Jack Grealish looks like he's going to miss out this weekend. He
Right.
came off with a muscle injury in midweek, and Pep had previously ruled out Gvardiol for 2 to 3 weeks. So they're both the red or very orange flags in FPL. The others aren't so serious. So Bernardo took a knock. He's going to be assessed in
Mm.
training today. And Pep said he expects Kovacic and Gomez back in training as well. They missed out
Right. Yeah.
against Copenhagen. But I
Right.
think
Yeah.
they're going to return.
Okay. And changes at the back for Chelsea by the looks of it.
Yeah, so Thiago came off against Crystal Palace on Monday night with a groin injury. It's minor, but it's going to be enough to keep him out of this one.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost Chuck Womaga as well. He's joined the injury list, twisted his ankle, I think, in training. And they're still without Lavia, Ogochukwu, James, Cucurella, Fafana, and Badia Shield. There is one bit of, or more than one bit of positive team news. Sanchez is back.
Right.
So he's been back in training. So there's a question of whether he displaces Petrovic now or not.
Mm-hmm.
And Gusto's fine, in case you're worried about him. Anybody? Yeah. He was sort of struggling in the closing stages on Monday, but I think it was just fatigue.
Okay.
And Colbill's fine as well. He looked like he was limping a bit, but he's all right.
Okay. News just in from J7 Lag that in Buckinghamshire, they used to say Chinny Reckon. So Chinny Reckon had spread to Buckinghamshire.
I've heard that one. Yeah.
So I did get to the northeast then. I'm surprised no journalists actually say that in the press conference when Eddie Howe says that. And a few of them just don't go, Chinny Reckon. But maybe they probably wouldn't be invited back. But that would be quite normal in Newcastle for journalists not to be invited back to press conferences. Let's move on to Sheffield United against Brighton. Yeah, I stumbled over this one because we've only had news from one team there. Brighton, annoyingly, their press conference is Saturday morning. We don't want that.
That's right, yeah. Not the only one as well, as we'll come on to in a minute. Yeah, we sort of know roughly what the team news is from Brighton, but there could be one or two unannounced injuries, for example. I think Lamptey was sort of limping a little bit towards the end of last week.
He's always limping.
Yeah. You're never quite sure whether he's truly injured or not. We know there'll be that João Pedro, for example. He's almost certainly, I think he's going to be there for weeks with a hamstring. Hinchelwood as well. He's been added to the list just before the deadline last week. That was confirmed. I think a foot injury. Probably going to miss the rest of the season, it sounds like. March is still out. Milner's still out, I think, as well. And Ciso is back in training, isn't he? But I think obviously a long way to go before he's truly match fit. Adingra is someone that will get back. But I did read this afternoon that he's a weary Adingra was welcomed back at the Brighton training ground today. So that's Friday. The game's on Sunday.
Yeah.
Would he be put straight back in? I mean, Mitoma was, but I think he had a bit more recovery.
He did, and also he didn't win it. He didn't win his competition. And I know from being at the Brighton game when McAllister came back to sort of training, he didn't play. He was just sort of paraded around, like, look at our concrete hero kind of thing. And I suspect they'll do a bit of that for Adingra. Yeah. Well, it won't be at Brighton's ground, but I suspect with Adingra, they'll leave it a week.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it'll be much the same squad as last week, with the caveat that there might be some unannounced stuff that we don't know. But hopefully that will happen before the deadline. I know Dyche's will. I've spoiled the giveaway there.
Yeah,
he's at 9:30 tomorrow, but the Zerbi I don't have a time for. Just got to hope it's before the deadline.
No, I would advise obviously look at Fantasy Football Scout's tweets as well. Other people to follow on social media tomorrow around that. Andy Naylor on X. He writes for the Athletic. He used to write for the Brighton Argus and the Brighton Argus as well. They will have all the news as well as it comes in early on. Sheffield United, how are they set up?
Yeah, I mean, this is just came in, seconds before I went on air, so I haven't really had much of a chance to digest it. Gerbic should be back. He was serving a concussion protocol. I think he's fine. He's the goalkeeper. Him, I think, only had a dead leg last weekend, so you think he'd be all right. Wilder said he was hoping to get a couple of players back. Now, he said the likes of McBurney and Brereton Diaz were injured. He didn't say specifically that they're the ones he was hoping to get back, but it was sort of implied that way.
Yeah.
Norton Davis is definitely out. He's got a serious hamstring injury, so he's joined Basham and Egan on the sidelines. Baldock hasn't featured since December. I think his original timeline was around about now, but no word on him. So, I'll delve into that in a bit more detail later on and update the site. Find out.
Before we move on to the next one, which is Luton and Manchester United, we had a few questions in the live chat about Manchester City's Haaland. So obviously we didn't address this particular issue because it's not injury related, but his grandmother died, unfortunately, and there is a funeral planned And I understand he has been away a little bit this week, but there's a funeral plan. I think it's February the 22nd, which is after the second match in the
Yeah.
double game week and before they take on Bournemouth in game week 26. And it will obviously be in Norway. And so the feeling is that he'll play all the games. Well, or rather, he'll be available for all the games.
Well, I mean, that's our best guess.
Although, you're about to
Yeah,
say
that's our.
different.
No, that's our best guess. I mean, I think there was a similar incident in, was it January with Rodri as well? I think he lost a grandparent, and I think he was allowed like a couple of days of leave, but it still didn't affect his availability.
No.
And Haaland played on Tuesday, played on Saturday after the news had just broke, I think, of his grandmother passing. So we'd assume he features, yeah.
Yeah. That's what we do. I mean, we don't know for definite.
No, we don't.
But it looks like in terms of funerals and all those kinds of things, it won't disrupt the actual football matches.
Yeah, and in these days of private jets as well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably a shorter commute than me going from Newcastle to London on the train. So I'm sure it's not that bad.
Rightio. Let's move on to Luton against Manchester United. Now, I haven't got any news from Luton so I don't know whether you have.
I do. Again, this actually came in after we went on air. So Mengi's fully fit and available.
Oh,
Edwards said today he was on the bench last weekend, so he's obviously fit enough to be involved. But
who would he replace?
Burke, I would think in the back three.
Right.
Mengi's definitely first choice now. Chong's all right as well. I think that's just still without Anderson,
Okay.
Nakamba, and of course Tom Lockyer as well. I think they're the only ones who are out.
Okay. And as for Manchester United, so there's usually an injury or two with them.
Yeah, the third press conference that was yesterday. Luke Shaw is probably the headline name from this. Ten Hag's hopeful that he's going to be available. He did say he was doubtful for it for this game, but he did seem fairly positive that he would prove his fitness. He came off last weekend against Aston Villa with I think it was a precautionary withdrawal. I'm not sure what the exact problem is, but it seemed optimistic. Malacia still out, Mount still out, so is Wan-Bissaka as well, and then longer term, Lissandro Martinez and Martial are absent as well.
Okay, and I think I've got a blank screen for the next one. It's Everton Crystal Palace. Yes, it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now Everton's press conference is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Crystal Palace's was cancelled because Roy Hodgson was taken ill. So,
that's right. Yeah, this was meant to be yesterday, the Palace press conference.
Yeah. So, do we have any news though?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I mean, Everton happily. Dyche gave us a bit of a bonus team news bulletin on Monday, and he said that Doucouré could return. I think he's been back on the grass for a little while now, so he's definitely someone that's in line for a return for this one. I think they're still going to be without Gomez, Danjuma, and Dele Alli.
Right.
Palace, I don't think they'll get anybody back. I think Mark Gay is the closest to a return. It was a hyperextension of the knee, but I think that was still weeks rather than days. And Alicia and Eze, I don't think there's any chance of those being back. Alicia sounds much serious than a few weeks.
Okay.
Raksaki was hamstrung as well. Doucouré's long term, Holden's long term. So I don't think they'll get anyone back. And there's always the risk that they've lost somebody else as well in the meantime, and we just don't know about it.
Okay, rightio. Once again, tomorrow morning, we'll hopefully have a bit more news from both of those sides. We definitely will from Everton because the press conference is scheduled. I think it's 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's right.
There are two more games within the game week, but there's no point getting team news for them because it's going to depend on how they do in their first games within the game week. But
That's true.
As part of the double game week, Man City take on Brentford on Tuesday, the 20th of February. And then on Wednesday, 21st of February, Liverpool host Luton. So stay tuned for Fantasy Football Scouts tweets. We don't call them tweets anymore, X's. Stay tuned to all our X's to find out the team news. Doesn't quite. I don't think Elon Musk really thought this through, did he? No. Let's have a look at the team news roundup. There's a hell of a lot in the fit to play column, a hell of a lot in the out column. Not much more in the questionable column. Major doubt. I should just call that the Eddie Howe column, the major doubt one, because they could be anywhere. But fit to play, Taylor is back. I saw lots of tweets saying Taylor seen in training, tears in my eyes from FPL managers. They're so pleased that they've got a game week 26 player. Let's hope he stays fit. Gusto and Colwell, they're fit to play. Huang is back. Kovacic, Gomez. There's two Gomez's there. I've only listed one, but you can count them as two. Sergio and Man City. And Joe Gomez recovered from flu at Liverpool. Salah is back, fit to play. Whether he starts both is another matter, but he's fit and back. Bradley is back. Alisson is also recovered from flu. He is back. Antonio is back for West Ham. Questionable, though, lots of Arsenal players. Tomiyasu, Sinchenko, Jorginho, Jesus. Shaw is a questionable for Manchester United. Sanchez is back in goal.
He is fit, yeah.
But whether he starts is another matter, but he is technically back. Bernardo Silva is questionable with a knock for Manchester City. A major doubt, could be playing, could be out, who knows. It's Isak with some groin issues there, with some itchy beard issues there for Eddie Howe. Out is Wilson, pectoral issues. That's the first for a pectoral. Wilson, hamstring. Gvardiol ankle, Kuna hamstring. These are all out and for a variety of lengths of time. Thiago Silva, groin issues going to keep him out. Both the doggy and Porro are out at Spurs. Grealish is going to be out, going to miss this one. Alexander Arnold is out. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Paqueta is still out. Calf problems there. Carlos and Kamara are now out for Aston Villa. I think I've got most there because a few did come in a bit late. A few people in the live chat asking about people like João Pedro and stuff. We don't know until tomorrow morning because Brighton's press conference is going to be some point on Saturday morning. So just to remind people of that. Thanks so much for joining me, Neil. Hope we've given everyone the team news that they liked, and so they can make their decisions for Double Game Week 25. Do press that like button and do remember to subscribe so you can be updated with all our videos and podcasts. And also do check out membership offers at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk to help you climb up your mini leagues. Thanks a lot for your time. Take care. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.